Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. And now the Friday Crime Report. To follow up on yesterday's briefing, since these airlines in the US, and American Airlines in particular, have made it a point to single out black passengers for abuse, I think it's only fair to look at them and ask how these law-abiding flight attendants and pilots behave. Our first model airline employee is a guy named Jonathan J. Dunn. On August 22, 2022, he had been a Delta pilot and first officer on board a flight from Atlanta to Salt Lake City. Apparently, one of the passengers on board began to have a medical event. The captain of the plane had proposed diverting to Grand Junction, Colorado if the passenger's condition worsened. Well, allegedly, this Jonathan Dunn character really doesn't like detours because he threatened to shoot the captain multiple times if he diverted the flight. Court documents allege that Dunn accused the captain of going crazy. Yes, that's very ironic coming from a guy who's threatening to shoot the captain of the plane for the crime of attempting to get a passenger medical attention. Maybe this Dunn character knew the distressed passenger personally and wanted to do him in. Dunn, it should be noted, is an Air Force Reserve Lieutenant Colonel, and he was demoted from his previous position for refusing the COVID-19 vaccinations. He sued the Department of Defense in February of 2022, that's just 6 months before this incident. He sued them on the grounds that he had a religious exemption. His request was denied, he appealed, and that decision was also denied. The Air Force told him that he would be relieved of command, but all of that became moot after Congress repealed the mandate that required members of the military to get vaccinated. The Air Force suspended Dunn's access to sensitive information following this incident and to the Air Operations Center. That's according to the Associated Press, but more disturbing than that is the fact that Dunn had been authorized by the Transportation Safety Administration to carry a firearm on board planes. He had been in a TSA program that allowed pilots to defend the cockpit by using firearms, and I guess he was the designated shooter. The TSA has reportedly revoked this right. He was indicted on October 18th of last year, and he was supposed to go on trial in March, but apparently his genetic immunity from law finally kicked in, because that was the last that was widely reported on this incident. Word is he could be looking at up to 20 years in prison. His lawyer says that this was all a misunderstanding, that he had only been joking. Now keep in mind, this is the same airline industry where they always have the TSA or other terrorist organizations telling people that you should be very careful about what you say and be careful of any jokes you might be making because they could be seen as terrorist threats. And so you got the guys who are flying the plane who are running around making jokes about shooting each other. Yeah, really. Unbelievable, but we know that for people like Dunn, these cases are not handled according to the law. They're handled according to whatever is most expedient for the dominant society. Now after this, on October 22, 2023, just a few days after Jonathan Dunn had been indicted, there was another incident, this time on an Alaska Airlines flight. Yes, the same airline whose planes lose their doors after takeoff. In this case, an off-duty Alaska Airlines pilot named Joseph Emerson had been traveling in the cockpit jump seat behind the pilot and first officer. They had been chatting about the weather and various types of airplanes, and all seemed well until, while they were flying over Oregon, the first officer observed Emerson throw his headset across the cockpit and scream, "I am not okay." And just to prove it, Emerson attempted to disable the plane's engines by engaging the fire suppression system. The captain had to physically restrain Emerson, wrestling with this guy, and eventually forcing him to leave the flight deck. Emerson reportedly told a flight attendant, "You need to cuff me right now or it's going to be bad." The flight attendant did cuff him, but Emerson still wasn't done causing mayhem yet because as the plane was making its descent to land, he reportedly tried to open one of the emergency doors. When interrogated by the FBI, Emerson said that he had taken psychedelic mushrooms and that he hadn't slept in 40 hours, that he was also dehydrated and tired. And when asked why he had tried to shut off the plane's engines, he said he thought he was dreaming and had wanted to wake up. Emerson has since been charged by the feds with interference with a flight crew, and he's also been charged at the state level with 83 counts of attempted murder, among other charges, including reckless endangerment and endangering an aircraft. But of course, genetic immunity from law being what it is, since nobody was killed, chances are excellent that this guy's going to get some sort of sentence that doesn't include prison time. Hell, even odds are that if he has lost his certification to fly, well, racial privilege being what it is, this time next year he may well be flying for some other airline. Comforting thought, I know. And since American Airlines is the company that has decided to wage a war on black passengers, I would be remiss if we didn't mention one of their latest incidents that made international headlines. Last month, while they were telling a black judge to go to the back of the plane to use the bathroom, there was another bathroom incident going down, this time with one of their flight attendants, Estes Carter Thompson, who was arrested for putting a camera into a bathroom on the plane and videoing underage girls. When the camera was discovered by a 9-year-old, the flight crew arranged for Boston police to meet the plane when they landed. Police tried to search Thompson's phone, but it had apparently been restored to factory settings. The family of the 9-year-old say that other American Airlines crew members allowed Thompson to destroy evidence when he was confronted about the incident. The authorities searched Thompson's iCloud account, and they found 4 additional instances between January and August of 2023 in which he had recorded a minor using the bathroom on a plane. The victims in those incidents were ages 7, 9, 11, and 14. The FBI claims that search also found hundreds of AI-generated child pornography images. In addition, investigators allegedly found over 50 photos of an unaccompanied 9-year-old who was in her seat before a flight and close-up pictures of the child while she was sleeping. Yeah, this guy is a world-class creep, but he does work for American Airlines, so he's in perfect company. I mean that literally, because American Airlines, rather than admit to what this creep did, instead they had one of their lawyers try to blame the 9-year-old for having been videoed. I'm not making that up. This is what American Airlines' own lawyers were claiming in regards to this incident. The lawyer said that the 9-year-old girl was to blame due to her own fault and negligence. They also said that she knew or should have known that the airplane's bathroom had a visible and illuminated recording device. Apparently they weren't very bothered by the fact that somebody put a recording device into a bathroom. So a preteen child was being videoed by some pervert, and American Airlines had their representative lawyers saying that it was the child's fault. That was their defense. They didn't say that this was a false accusation. They admit that it's true, but they say the 9-year-old's responsible for it, not their creepy employee. And why is American Airlines so desperate to protect a pedophile? Probably for the same reason they're also so eager to protect their racist staff members. And they were going to stand by this defense, blaming a 9-year-old child victimized by one of their employees, that is, until news of this reprehensible defense tactic leaked in the white media. It was only after this attempt to blame the victim came to light that the airline predictably put out one of their statements saying, "The included defense is not representative of our airline," which is exactly what they say about all the racist incidents that take place on their airlines. It's not representative of our airline, not representative of our values, etc. You know, if something happens over and over and over again, and you don't do anything to correct it or prevent it, and you in fact protect the people who do it, then that is representative of exactly who and what you are. If you look at the cases of assaults on airline employees, you will almost never see a black person involved. You may see some tethers or hood rats, or some hood rat tethers, who are brawling at the gate or get into a catfight on the plane, but as far as actually putting hands on airplane staff, black folks aren't the ones who do that. Whether it be punching a flight attendant in the back of the head, or trying to stab a flight attendant, or knocking out a flight attendant's teeth, or beating a flight attendant so badly she had to be carried off the plane and hospitalized, you don't see black passengers doing that. And yet, who are the main ones being singled out? The people who aren't doing anything. Gee, it reminds you of the thugs in blue, don't it? The police are not attacked primarily by black people, and yet it's usually black people, most of the time unarmed, who the police are gunning down. So it's not about public safety. It's about racists understanding that the corporation they work for and the government that they're in league with give them carte blanche to mistreat and persecute black passengers. They keep engaging in this behavior because they know full well that both the company they work for and the government that's supposed to be regulating them are actually on their side when it comes to all of this racist and deviant behavior. This is the airline industry that's mistreating black people, and it allows its employees to abuse black passengers by kicking them off the planes for no reason. Because they're so concerned about public safety, right? But apparently not concerned enough to check their own pilots or flight attendants. Flying is already a humiliating enough experience with security checks, and dangerous as hell since these airlines don't do much maintenance and apparently don't even care about how their planes are built. And yet you got people who have to put up with the dregs of humanity. But when you look at how these airline employees act, and how the airlines themselves will bend over backwards to shield them from consequences, I don't want to hear any more about any alleged misbehavior by black passengers. It's enough to make you drive to your destination. And that's this week's Friday Crime Report. Keep your eyes open and stay on alert, because there's a lot worse criminals out there than the ones the white corporate media chooses to show you. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors: Burkett Cochrane, Bobby Johnson, Anthony Williams, Samara Morris, and Ronald Waits. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.